Also new, a grocery store on the west side was robbed last night. Investigators say 3 men walked into the Smiley's on 19th and Ruth with a gun and demanded money around 9:30. They ended up making off with anywhere between $300 to $400. Detectives are looking through surveillance video. No injuries were reported. You are asked to call 361-886-2600 if you have any information that could lead to an arrest.